Hare Krishna. We'll start our Ramayana from the beginning today. Today is a very auspicious day. Today is Radhashtami. So you can see Radharani dressed in the form of a gopa, very beautifully dressed. So on this auspicious day, with the permission of Lord Ramachandra.
It's Gopashtami.
Yeah, it's Gopashtami. Yeah. We'll start Sri Ramayana Srimad Ramayanam today. We'll start with a small prayer. Kujantam Rama Rameti Maduram Maduraksharam Arusya Kavita Shakham Vande Valmiki Kokilam Valmikir Munisimhasya Kavita Vanacharinah Shunvan Ramakathanadam Kaunayati Parangatim Yat Pibam Satatam Ramacharitamrita Sagaram Adruptastam Munim Vande Prachetasamakalmasham Goshpadi Kritavarasham Masaki Kritarakshasam Ramayana Mahamala Ratnam Vande Anilatmajam Anjananandanam Veeram Janaki Sokanashanam Kapi Samakshahantaram Vande Lanka Bhayankaram Amishi Kritamartandam Goshpadi Kritasagaram Trini Krita Dasagrivam Anjaneyam Namamyaham Ullangya Sindho Salilas Saliram Yastokavahnim Janakatmajayah Adaya Teneva Dadaha Lankam Namamitam Pranjali Ranjaneyam Anjaneyam Atipatalananam Kanchanadri Kamaniya Vigraham Parijata Tarumulavasinam Bhavayami Paumananandanam Yatra Yatra Raghunada Kirtanam Tatra Tatra Kritamastakанjalim Bhashpavari Paripurnalochanam Marutim Namatarakshasantakam Manojavam Marutatulyavegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Varishtam Vatatmajam Vanarayudhamukyam Sri Ramadutam Sirasanamami Yah Karnanjali Samputaihi Haras Samyak Pipatyadarat Valmikir Vadanaravinda Ramayanakyam Madhu Janma Vyadi Jara Vipatti Maranaihi Atyanta Sopadravam Samsara Sahavihaya Gachati Bhuman Vishnur Padam Shaswatam Tadupagata Samasa Sandhiyogam Sama Maduropanatardha Vakya Baddham Raghuvara Muni Pranitam Dasasirasaschavadam Nishamayadvam Valmiki Girisambhutam Ramasagara Gamini Punatu Bhavanam Punyat Ramayanam Mahanadi Srokasara Samakirnam Sarga Kallola Sankulam Kandagraya Mahaminam Vande Ramayanarnavam Veda Vede Pare Pumsijate Dasaradatmajam Vedaha Prachetasadasi Sakshad Ramayanatmana Vaidehi Saitam Surudramutale Haime Mahamandape Madhya Pushpakamasane Manimaye Virasane Sustitam Agre Vachaiti Prabhanjanasute Tattvam Munibhyaparam Vakyantam Bharatadibhi Parivritam Ramam Bhajesyamalam Vame Bhumisuta Purascha Hanuman Paschat Sumitra Sutah Shatrugno Bharatascha Parshvadalayoho Vaivyadi Koneshucha Sugrivangada Jambavan Sugrivascha Vibhishanascha Yuvarat Tara Suto Jambavan Madhye Neela Saroja Komalaruchim Ramam Bhajesyamalam Mata Ramo Matpita Ramo Bhrata Ramo Matsaka Ragaveshah Sarvasvam me Ramachandro Dayalu Nanya Devam Naivajane Najane Sakete Saradindu Kundadavale Saude Mahamandape Paryasta Agarudupadi Palalite Katpura Deepojvale Sugrivangada Jambavat Parivritam Saumitrina Sevitam Leela Manusha Vigraham Raghuvaram Ramam Bhajesyamalam Megasyamam Mahabahum Stirasatvam Dridavratam Kada Drakshamahe Ramam Jagata Sokanashanam Apadam Apahartaram Dataram Sarva Sampadam Lokabhiramam Sriramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyaham Jaityatibalo Ramo Lakshmanascha Mahabalah Raja Jaiti Sugrivo Raghavena Abhipalitah Tasoham Kosalendrasya Ramasya Klishtakarmanah Hanuman Shatru Sainyanam Nihantam Marutatmajah Naravana Sahasram Me Yuddhe Pratibalam Bhavet Shilabistu Prahattara Padapaischa Sahasrasah Ardhaitva Purim Lankam Abhivadhyascha Maidilim Samriddhardo Gamishyami Mishatam Sarvarakshasam Dharmatma Satyasandascha Ramo Dasaridiryadi Paurushecha Pratidvandva Sarayena Jahi Ravanim Tapaswadhyaya Naratam Tapasvim Vagvidamvaram Narada Paripapracha Valmiki Muni Pungavam Om Ramayana Maha Hare Krishna. Last week we have introduced Ramayana. Today we will continue forward into Balakanda. I see familiar faces who have attended last Ramayana recitation. They have heard entirely and then they came back again for the second recital. That shows their devotion. Today we are stepping into Balakanda, which is the first book in Ramayana. Ramayana has 7 books: Balakanda, Ayodhyakanda, Aranyakanda, Kishkindhakanda, Sundarakanda, Yuddhakanda, and Uttarakanda. 6 kandas and 1 kanda on top of it. So last week we have seen how Valmiki has written Ramayana, and he has taught it to Lava and Kusha, and then they sang it in front of sages, and then they went to Ayodhya, they sang it there, and Rama witnessed these 2 boys singing Ramayana. And then he took Lava and Kusha to his palace. There he made them to sing in front of Bharata, Lakshmana and Shatrughna, and also all Brahmarshis like Vasishta and Vamadeva and the citizens of Ayodhya. Here in Balakanda, straight away Valmiki doesn't introduce Lava and Kusha as the sons of Rama, but he says one sloka, very beautiful sloka. He addresses them as Rupa Lakshana Sampannau, Madhuraswara Bhashitau, Bimbat Iva Udrutau, Bimbau Ramadeha Tathaparau. That means Rupa Lakshana Sampannau. They are full of beautiful features. Madhuraswara Bhashitau. Their voice is very sweet, very wealthy, very rich. Madhuraswara Bhashitau. Bimbat Iva Udrutau. As if the sun, when he is radiant, how resplendent he is. Similarly, Lava and Kusha are very bright. Bimbat Iva Udrutau. Bimbau Ramadeha Tathaparau. Just like sun rays are not different from the sun, I mean they are emitted from the sun. Similarly, Bimbau Ramadehat Tathaparau. They came out of the same body of Ramachandra. So this is how he introduces Lava and Kusha. Means they are no different than Rama. They are his sons. So Lava and Kusha, they sang in the classical style, which is suited to the Janapadas, Nagarikas, who live in the cities. So the classical style is suited for them, so they sang in that style. Whereas when they used to sing in villages, they used to sing in the folklore style. So Ramayana has been taught to them in both styles by Valmiki. So now, when they started to sing, the first sloka that they sang was, they introduced Ramayana as if this is the story that happened in the lineage of the Ikshvakus. So for those of you who have attended here, how long ago did Ramayana happen? Those who have attended last time they knew, but how long ago did Ramayana happen? Yeah, it happened in 24th Mahayuga, so 17 million years ago it happened. So there is a great lineage of kings in Ikshvaku dynasty. We will mention it in the coming classes. So in the Ikshvaku dynasty, the present day king was Dasaratha. So he was ruling the kingdom just like Indra ruled heavens. So Lava and Kusha introduced first Ayodhya. How did Ayodhya look? Ayodhya has wide streets. It is 11 yojanas in breadth, 11 yojanas in length, and 3 yojanas in breadth. So that is 33 miles wide and 3 miles long, 36 miles long, considering 1 yojana to be equal to 12 miles. So, but the distance of yojana varies from place to place. So right now when he is mentioning it, the Ayodhya city is 33 miles wide and it is 36 miles long. 11 yojanas into 12, it's more than 33, 132 or something. So yeah, sorry. So it is such a big city. It has white buildings. White buildings in the sense, don't assume it as buildings painted with lime. Ayodhyawasis are not so cheap. You can imagine that it is a form of a white granite. Granite in the sense it's not like a polished granite that we get right now. Any temple is constructed with a granite stone. If you see Hampi, most of the buildings are built of granite. It has good crushing strength, so they use granite for construction. So it comes in the color of white also sometimes. In sun it looks as if it's white in the bright daylight. So Ayodhya was built of such granite houses which are white in color. It had wide streets, cross streets, and they had huge trees on the sides of the trees. On the sides of the streets they have huge trees, and all the buildings were decorated very nicely with flowers. And on the streets, all the Ayodhya-vasis used to wash the streets with cool water so that the dust on the streets would not rise when chariots go and fall into the eyes of people. And they used to sprinkle fragrant flowers on the streets so that Ayodhya would smell with a divine smell. So such beautiful city was Ayodhya. And not even a small space was wasted in Ayodhya. There were buildings packed very closely. They didn't even waste small space. It was well constructed, well defined and well designed city. Such beautiful was Ayodhya. One may raise the question, then where is this city Ayodhya right now? Where are all these buildings that you have mentioned? Where have they gone? I will tell you one small example. You know Indus Valley civilization, right? Most of you might know. When the British engineers discovered Indus Valley first, they were actually constructing a railway line there, in that place. And then they found Indus Valley, these ruins of this civilization. And you know what they did? The civil engineers? They took out all these brick ballast from Indus Valley civilization and they used for railroad track. Such, this is what we expect from they claim that they are first class men, right? They did this. Any educated man, if they find something ancient or of good value, an artifact, he would preserve it. Let it be, to whosoever it may belong, but they would preserve it. But the British engineers, they used it as a brick ballast. Can anyone imagine that the Egyptian pyramids has a white limestone, polished on their surface, but now it is not there. But do you know, it was once like that. They were polished with. Now it is not there. Where have it gone? Some robbers, tomb raiders, they have stolen it. So like that, Ayodhya city was also, after the passage of Lord Ramachandra, after he left this planet, later on it might have prone to so many attacks and so many things. Or the buildings could be moved to somewhere. Or the South Indian temples might be, made of the granite that was moved from Ayodhya. Anything could happen. We don't know. So, and also because it happened 17 million years ago, nobody has excavated that deep to find if there is any building or not. To excavate something that is beyond 1,000 years, they had to go 100 feet now in Ayodhya. And they have discovered something 1,000 years back. So if you excavate more, you will find it. So the presence of Ayodhya is undebatable because we have Ramayana as an existing document of the historic presence of Rama. So here in this Ramayana, we are trying to provide not only the devotional perspective but also a scientific perspective for those who are new to devotion and for those who have slightest of doubt whether these things have happened or not. So I will try to present whatever I know. So like this, Ayodhya was present with well-packed houses, very well-defined houses and layouts and very broad streets. And how are the people in Ayodhya? They have families. Families in the sense not just me, my wife and my children. No. A family means in Ayodhya, me, my wife, my children, my father and mother. If possible, the lady's father and mother, one daughter, sons, daughter-in-laws, of course a daughter, and then a guest also. 10. If you come to our house, it's almost like that right now. Vedanarayan Prabhu, his children, his family of 4, his parents 6, and then we have 2 guests, me and Gaur Kumar, so 8. So our family is like that. So, like that we have, Ayodhya had families like that. Big, huge families. And then, in Ayodhya, people were not greedy. They were self-sufficient. they had everything they wanted. Not only that, they were very skilled in music, archery, and they were sportive, and they were all well educated. 100% literacy was there in Ayodhya, even during those times. It is mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana. I am not making up anything. 100% literates, they were all well versed in Vedic and scriptural injunctions. And the Brahmanas used to take up the duties of a Brahmana. Here Brahmana means not by birth, by his quality and by his ability. And the Shudras used to do whatever they were supposed to do. And then the Kshatriyas and Vaisyas, they also depended on Brahmanas for advice. And the Vaisyas followed Kshatriyas, and the Shudras served the rest of humanity. So like this, Ayodhya was very beautifully ruled by Dasaratha, who ruled, he was like Indra who ruled heaven. In fact, Dasaratha was more prominent than Indra at that time. Because if even the demigods, if they needed help, if Indra needed help, they all used to come to Ayodhya and seek help of Dasaratha. So powerful was Dasaratha. He was called the speedy charioteer. That means he can drive his chariot very fast, and in 10 directions he can wage a war at one single moment. When you see Dasaratha when he is fighting, it looked as if the chariot was spinning in all 10 directions, as if there were 10 chariots at the same time. He was spinning the chariot so fast and fighting in all the 10 directions. That is why he is called Dasaratha. And in spite of being such a powerful man on the planet, still Dasaratha was very humble. He was very approachable for anybody. He was so humble and he would listen to anybody, and he was so kind person. That is why Vishnu chose Dasaratha to be born as his son Ramachandra. Before starting Ramayana, I would like to remember one more time Dasaratha, who is the best among the devotees, and his friend Jatayu, who is also Bhakta Sreshta, the best among devotees. What is the greatness of Dasaratha? When Lord Rama left for forests, no more than 3 days or 6 days he survived. He left his body. He liked Rama so much. Not only that, how many sages in all our Puranas and Itihasas, all the literature that we have, how many sages and devotees have worshipped the Lord just to get a glimpse of him at least once, right? They have spent several thousands of years. But Dasaratha, whenever he wants to see Rama, he would call Rama. Then Rama would come to him. And then he would bow down and take his blessings. Then he would ask, "What is it, Father? What can I do for you?" Dasaratha says, No, I just wanted to see you, I called you. And then Rama would take leave, and then he would be leaving away. Again Dasaratha would call Rama, and then he would come back again. "What is it that you wanted from me?" He would say, "No, I just wanted to see you one more time, I called you." Like that, Ramachandra, like a servant, he used to come hundreds of times just to please his father's wish. And Dasaratha, unsatiated by the beauty of his son, would call him time and again to see Ramachandra. This was the relationship between Dasaratha and Ramachandra. He would call Rama, Rama would come. He'd say, "All right, son, please go." As and when he turns back, Dasaratha would feel again the anguish of separation. He would call him back again. This was the beauty of Ramayana. Ramayana states the relationship between the father and a son. So, this is the greatness of Dasaratha. And we would like to remember Jatayu. Jatayu was an old bird. He did not have much energy. But when Ravana took away Sita, then with wing, beak and talon, and with an old age, he fought against weapons made of keen weapons made of steel and panoply, Such was the strength of Jatayu. Jatayu's devotion was so strong that he fought with Ravana valiantly, and he gave up what all he had. And what all he had was his life alone and nothing else. And he gave that up for the sake of Ramachandra. And out of the innumerable beautiful slokas in Ramayana, this sloka of Jatayu is, an epitome of the beauty of a verse. When Rama first sees Jatayu, he thinks he is a demon. And he tries to take an arrow and then he wants to shoot Jatayu. Because he thinks he is a Rakshasa. Actually, that painting is right there when they meet Jatayu. So many people here are confused looking at the painting, so we want to explain. Rama, Sita and Lakshmana, they met Jatayu even before they went to Panchavati. This is the incident, I am trying to explain. When Rama wanted to shoot Jatayu, then Jatayu with feeble voice asks Ramachandra, he tells him, Satau Madhuraya, Saumyaya, Priyanaya Niva, Uvacha Vatsa, Mam Vidhi Pituratmanaha. This is a very beautiful sloka. He says, Satau Madhuraya, Saumyaya, Priyanaya Niva, Uvacha Vatsa, he calls him my dear son. Mam Vidhi Pituratmanaha. In age, I am equal to your father, and I am a friend of your father. My name is Jatayu. Then Ramachandra asks him his lineage, and he explains his lineage. And then he promises, I will protect Sita whenever you and Lakshmana are not here. I will guard her. Actually, I heard from one Acharya saying that the appearance of an eagle is not a Subhashuchaka. When you are going out of your house, when you see an eagle, it's not a good sign, they say. For devotees, it's a good sign because he is Garuda. But for those who don't believe in Vishnu, for them, he would be, Yama. So, they say it's not a good sign. So, Jatayu knows that, my appearance, to Ramachandra, maybe it might not be of a good omen. So, he was hiding in the trees. So, that's when Rama thought, he was a Rakshasa. That's how their meeting occurred. But again, coming back to Ayodhya, so great was Dasaratha. So, he ruled the kingdom very nicely. But he only had one unfulfilled desire. That was, he did not have children. And Dasaratha had 350 wives. And one may ask, how come he had 350 wives? He married Kausalya, Sumitra and Kaikeyi. The other 353 actually along with them. Whenever Parasurama used to come with an axe towards Ayodhya, Dasaratha used to marry a newlywed girl. First he used to send her. And then that girl used to go to Parasurama and take all his blessings. And then Parasurama would bless her, Dirgha Sumangali Bhava. And then Dasaratha would come next to her and say, I am her husband. So Parasurama cannot do anything. So he used to leave him. Dasaratha did not want it to die because he did not have children. He wanted to have, sons. And Dasaratha is the epitome, personification of a paternal love, the paternal instinct. A father's love is personified in the form of Dasaratha. So, the people of Ayodhya also followed their king in his footsteps, and they were also very kind and very good. They did not kill animals unwantedly. They only killed those tigers and lions which used to attack cities. It is also mentioned. And they were very well versed in Vedic rituals, and they followed Brahmanas properly. And all the courtesans, the dancers, artists, performers, they were also very talented, and they used to have all kinds of festivals in Ayodhya. It was a city well decorated. It was a city which had all kinds of machinery, weaponry related to battles. It is also mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana, machinery and weaponry. And the city had many bastions, many flags, well fortified with moats, with big doors. That is why it is called Ayodhya, undefeatable. It is not vanquished by anyone yet. That is why it's called Aparajita or Ayodhya. So this place was so rich and opulent, and Dasaratha wanted to have children. Now he had many sages in his court. He has Brahmarshis like Vasishta and Vamadeva, and he had ministers like Suyagna, Jabali, Kashyapa, Markandeyu, Dirghayu, and Katyayana. So many religious ministers. And he also had the ministers who would look after the kingdom, like Drishti, Jayanta, Vijaya, Rashtravardhana, Surashtra, Akopa, and Dharmapala, and Sumantra. The most important of all these is Sumantra. All these ministers. So his court is full of wise persons, sages, and wise ministers. And the ministers ruled Ayodhya in such a beautiful way that they even punished their own sons if they made a mistake. It is also written in Valmiki Ramayana. They did not care even if their sons commit a mistake. So well ruled was Ayodhya, and all these ministers assisted Dasaratha in ruling Ayodhya properly. So the lifestyle of Ayodhyawasis continued like this for a long time, because Dasaratha himself was 60,000 years old by then. He ruled the kingdom for 60,000 years old. It may sound ludicrous to some of the audience here that how can Dasaratha live for 60,000 years? Is it possible? Well, I know some people who lived for 120 years. I know some people who died just 30 years later, So we cannot put a boundary to the human span. So Dasaratha was, ruling Ayodhya for 60,000 years. And his ancestors, they all belonged to Krita Yuga. The Ikshvakus, most of them belonged to Krita Yuga. And in Treta Yuga, Ayodhya, Dasaratha was the one continuing forward. And Rama appeared in the beginning days of Treta Yuga, in the beginning millennia. So Dasaratha summoned his ministers and told in front of them that I desire to have children. What should I do? I desire to perform an Aswamedha Yaga, a horse ritual, and beget sons. I want to please the demigods and beget sons. Then his minister Sumantra, he said, splendid, very good idea. At the same time, he told him that, listen, my lord, I once have heard a story narrated by Sanat Kumara to an assembly of sages long ago. And Sanat Kumara said that Dasaratha would want to perform a horse ritual, Aswamedha Yaga, for which he would invite Rishyasringa, who is the son-in-law of Romapada Maharaja. Romapada used to rule the kingdom of Anga, which is present-day Bihar, in that region, west of Bihar, southwest of Bihar. And that Anga kingdom flourished very well under the rule of Romapada, but Romapada Maharaja committed some mistake, it seems, sometimes. And then because of that mistake, the clouds stopped coming over on the kingdom of Anga, and there were no rains for a long time. This story is described by Sumantra in the words of Sanat Kumara. He is telling that Sanat Kumara told this story, but I will be telling you in the present tense as if the story is happening. So Romapada, when his kingdom was not having rains, then he summoned upon his sages and asked for a remedy. Then the sages told them that there is a great sage called Rishyasringa. He is the son of Vibhandaka, who is the son of Kashyapa. So Kashyapa had a son called Vibhandaka. Vibhandaka Muni had a son called Rishyasringa, and he is very famous for his celibacy. So this sage, wherever he goes, there will be rain. Actually, according to the Puranas, Rishyasringa is from a place in Kerala. It's called Sringeri. Even now it's called Sringeri. It's named after his name. Karnataka or Kerala? Sringeri Matha, that Shankaracharya's...
Sringeri is Karnataka.
No, but that is in Kerala only. Because this place rains heavily. Tuticorin, Trivandrum, not Trivandrum. Some city in Kerala, it's always rains there. And it's closer to Shringi, Rishyasringa is from that place, and it rains even now, that place. So Rishyasringa was brought from this place to Anga kingdom. How he was brought, Sanat Kumara is explaining. Romapada asked an idea how to bring Rishyasringa to the kingdom of Anga. They said, Rishyasringa is very famous for his celibacy, and his father Vibhandaka trained him very well, keeping him as a recluse in the forest. And nobody can go near his hermitage and allure Rishyasringa out, because he would curse whoever goes near the ashrama, because he is very protective of his son Rishasringa. But we have a plan. We will send some courtesans from our court to that forest, and then they would allure him with sweets and good friendship. And Rishasringa, upon not knowing the friendship, and he doesn't know all these worldly pleasures and everything, so he will get attracted, and he would follow them, and he will come to our kingdom. So they sent some courtesans, and then the courtesans, they met Rishasringa in that hermitage, and he worshipped them just like he used to worship all the demigods who used to come to his hermitage. All these Ashwini twin gods, all Indra, the Ekadasa Rudras, they all used to visit his hermitage because he was so famous. Just like he used to worship them, he also worshipped these ladies, and then he welcomed them to his hermitage, and he gave them fruits, and he gave them water to wash their feet, and then he gave them fruits. This is what we eat, please take. Like that he offered them, and then there was a friendship between the courtesans and sage Rishasringa. And then the second time when they left, Rishasringa was very much allured by their friendship, and he wanted to follow them, and then he followed them to the kingdom of Anga. And when he went there, immediately it started to rain, and the kingdom of Anga flourished again with grain and good harvest. And Romapada was happy, and Rishasringa was invited into the kingdom, and he gave them water, he washed his feet, Romapada washed his feet, and he gave his daughter Shanta in return, to Rishasringa, and he made him son-in-law. Shanta, they say, that was the daughter of Dasaratha. In one way, she is related to Dasaratha as a daughter. And he gave her to Romapada, for adoption. So, Shanta is the elder daughter of Dasaratha, and she is also the sister of Ramachandra. So, the sages said, this Rishasringa, the ministers of Dasaratha told him that this Rishasringa has to be invited to this court of Dasaratha, and then he has to perform the Aswamedha ritual, and he would perform the Putrakameshti Yaga, then only he would beget sons. He would beget 4 virtuous sons, and this is what I have heard from Sanat Kumara when he was narrating this to an assembly of sages. This is what Sumantra told to Dasaratha. Then Dasaratha told Sumantra that, my dear Sumantra, please tell this to Vasishtha and let him invoke the ceremony of Aswamedha. Let's do that. Let's right now proceed to the hermitage of Vasishtha. It is written that Vasishtha used to live in the northern banks of Sarayu river. Right now Ayodhya is situated in the southern banks. Even in those days, Ayodhya was in the southern banks of Sarayu river. So Vasishtha was a little north of Ayodhya, situated in the northern banks of Sarayu river. Even to this present day, I visited Ayodhya very recently. The southern part of Ayodhya is very crowded, and the northern banks are very much, empty. There is nothing on the northern banks of river Sarayu. Even to this day, northern banks of Sarayu is an apt place for performing any yajna. So, even during the time of Dasaratha, it was like that. So he went to Vasishtha's ashrama, and Sumantra mentioned this to Vasishtha, and Vasishtha said, so be it, let you perform Aswamedha Yaga, let us start the ritual from today. So, looking at the auspicious star, and on an auspicious day, they began the ritual of Aswamedha. Many sages were summoned to the court of Dasaratha. Dasaratha ordered Sumantra to fetch all the Vedic scholars from throughout the kingdom. And Vasishtha also ordered Sumantra, saying that you fetch all the carpenters, sculptors, Vedic scholars, and all the prominent Brahmanas into the kingdom of Ayodhya. And similarly, all these people started to flow in Ayodhya. They started to build huge sacrificial altars and, what do you call them, huts, huge sheds. And the sacrificial arena was very much similar to a temple. If you see a temple, it has a balipita, a sacrificial place where they offer the prasad, the laddus or the rice or everything to all the bhutas, that is exactly next to the Dvajastamba. It is an open place, so that the demigods or any birds can come and take the offering right there. It's the Balipita. So it will be in the center. And then the Sanctum Sanctorum would be, right to the west of this Balipita, facing east. Similarly, even the modern day temples are constructed in that way. And then there will be a Sadas, which is for the assembly of scholars. All those Vedic scholars, they would assemble in that Sadas. And then there will be a Patni Shala, that is for the assembly of all the wives of the king and the wives of the Vedic scholars who are performing this ritual. And then there will be a place for argument, debate and everything. And then there will be place for kitchen, a lot of cooking. And that kitchen altars of fire will be pointing, will be semicircular or something, and then they will be pointing south. They have all these Shrauta Shastras according to which a Vedic Shala has to be built. For that you need trained men in those aspects. So that is the reason why they needed all these sculptors. Govind, can you go there? So Dasaratha invited all these Vedic scholars and everybody, and then they started building the altars, shalas and everything. On an auspicious day, when the Vedic shala is built, they asked Dasaratha to enter it on an when the auspicious star was approaching. That star is not mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana, so I do not know. So Dasaratha entered this thing, and Rishishringa was also invited. Actually, Dasaratha went to Romapada and he asked, please send me Rishishringa so that I can have children. And Romapada sent Rishishringa and Shanta also to Ayodhya. And upon Rishishringa entering Ayodhya, everybody was pleased. And in the palace, upon seeing the daughters Shanta, they were very happy, and there were merries and lot of festivals going in and around those palaces of the ladies. It is mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana. Just like when you receive a daughter from your house, you know that all the female, all the ladies make a big noise and festival. Similarly, in those days, with 353 wives and with the newly arrived daughter, you can imagine how festive it could be in Ayodhya. So when Dasaratha entered that Vedic hermitage, where this ritual is going to be performed, that Aswamedha, that horse was bathed first, Prokshana, they did Prokshana, and then they left it to go into the kingdoms of, the Bharatavarsha. What is Aswamedha Yaga? They leave a horse, they leave an insignia on the horse, and then let it wander freely in any kingdom. If any king challenges or captures the horse and challenges the sovereignty of the king who has released this horse, would have to wage a war with the king who released the horse. And then, there will be a war, and then the king who released the Aswamedha, if he defeats the king, then, his sacrifice would be successful. Since Dasaratha is such a powerful king, nobody challenged Dasaratha. Nobody captured the horse. Ravana was present at this time, remember. Ravana did not capture the horse. He knew that Aswamedha Yaga was going on. Ravana is a very old person by then. Ravana fought with the ancestors of Ramachandra. He fought with Anaranya. Anaranya is, one of the first. I am tempted to do the lineage again here. So Ikshvaku lineage, it has 40 kings. Avyakta Brahman, who is Vishnu himself, Brahma, Marichi, Kashyapa, Vivaswan, Manu, Ikshvaku. Ikshvaku was the one who built the city, Ayodhya. Ikshvaku, Kukshi, Vikukshi, Bana, Anaranya. This Anaranya was the one who fought Ravana. Anaranya, Prithu, Trishanku, Dundumara, Yavanashva, Mandhata, Susandhi, Dhruvasandhi, Prasenajit, Bharata, Asita, Sagara, Asamanjasa, Anshuman, Dilipa, Bhagirada, Kakutsata, Pravruddha, Shankanu, Sudarshana, Agnivarna, Sigragu, Maruvu, Prasishruka, Nahusha, Yayati, Nabhaga, Aja, Dasaratha, Rama Lakshmana, Bharata Shatrugna. So Ravana fought Anaranya, who is, very early. So Ravana was very old. He was there in Lanka at the time, but he did not fight Dasaratha. He did not want it because he was afraid of Dasaratha. Why did not Dasaratha kill Ravana? Because he wanted his son to kill. That's all I can say. So Ravana did not challenge Dasaratha's imperial significance at that time. Vali was there. He did not capture the horse because Vali was also afraid of Dasaratha. Because of Dasaratha's negligence, Vali and Ravana started to, and also many demons, they came and resided in Kara and Dushana. All these demons came and resided in Janasthana, and they started troubling the sages. So that's why Rama has to come. So Dasaratha left this horse and it went all over the world, and it came back a year later. And upon the ritual horse, when it entered the Vedic hermitage, again it was given birth one more time, and then they did all the sacrificial ceremonies that they have to do to the Aswamedha, in that Aswamedha Yaga. There are many kinds of yajnas. Sapta Havari Yajna, Sapta Paka Yajnas, Sapta Soma Yajnas, and some yajnas which are done for the benefit of mankind. They are called Abhyudayaka Yajnas, of which Aswamedha Yaga, Rajasuya Yaga are, some to name. So Dasaratha is performing this yajna because it's an Abhyudayaka. It's benefiting for the mankind. So the yajnas came back, and then Rishasringa was at the helm of affairs. And there are Hota, Udghata, and there is one more. Do you remember, bro? Hota, Brahma and Udghata. Hota is the one who does the invocatory ceremonies with, Samaveda. He invocates all the demigods and then he calls them with Samaveda. And Brahma, under his direction, everything will, Adhvaryu, under his administration, everything will go on. Brahma is the one, one who presides over the entire ceremony. And Udghata will take care of the rest of the things. And there will be Ritviks, Hare Krishna. And there will be Ritviks who will take care of, who will be like, who will be guiding and seeing if all the Vedic scholars, would they perform, would they utter the mantras properly or not. It is said that in a Vedic ritual, if you do not utter Vedic mantras properly, they would be born as Brahma Rakshasas in their next life. And then those Brahma Rakshasas would be wandering around these Vedic rituals, trying to correct, these scholars. If they perform it wrongly, if they utter any mantra wrongly, then they would catch hold of them and then they would kill them. This is the duty of Brahma Rakshasas, because they envy the scholars who utter mantras properly. So they would be waiting, when would they perform, wrongly. They are like, testing was there, the concept of testing was there even at a long time. Just an anecdote, when I was trying to trace back who is the first tester, I traced it back to Bhasmasura, because he wanted to test his own boon, the boon given by Shiva, that whomsoever he places his hand, that person would be demolished, he would be destroyed, reduced to ashes. And Bhasmasura wanted to test the boon on Shiva himself. So this testing business is very asuric. So like that, Brahma Rakshasas, they wanted to come, they would be they would be witnessing this Vedic ritual, and they would trouble the Vedic scholars if it is uttered improperly. So the Ritviks have to take care of it. This was told by Dasaratha and Vasishtha also. So the ritual, was performed very elaborately. All the Janapadas, Nagarikas, they all flowed into Ayodhya. It was very festive. They sprinkled the entire city with fragrant water and with, turmeric water and sandalwood pastes. And the whole city was decorated with all flowers. And the sculptors, they built many new cottages, just for the ritual. And this Aswamedha ritual was performed on the northern banks of Sarayu, because it was an apt place. And they built many cottages, new hermitages, for, the newly arrived kings and the new guests. For them they built, then and there, new palaces. and new kitchens, everything. It is all mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana. So grand was this ritual. And they fed all these Janapadas with delicious food, with many sweets. I have always tried to probe into what kinds of sweets do they used to make in Treta Yuga. Today I found one sweet that we know till now. It is called Modaka, which is Laddu. Laddu was there. That is confirmed. Laddu was there even in those days. The rest of the sweets we don't know. Gulab Jamun and all this, whether they were there. But Laddu was there. Modaka. So all... Huh? Yeah, and Payasa was there. Payasa was also mentioned during the Bharadwaj Asrama. When Bharata comes, Payasa was mentioned. So, and pickles were there. So, laddus, they prepared laddus, they served everything. And there was an Annakuta Mahotsava. It is mentioned exactly like this, Annakuta. You know, they had heaps of rice and all kinds of sweets, curries, everything. And they started to feed all these people who came. And all the people, when they were eating, it was like continuous, circulation. People were coming, they were feeding, and then they were getting up, and again they were feeding again. And Vasishtha ordered all these Brahmanas who were wearing gem-studded earrings that feed everybody properly and never get angry on anybody. Some people might be from villages, some people might be from cities. They might not know the cultured way. Still, you should not treat them improperly. You should always treat them properly and then serve the food very patiently. This is what Vasishtha said. And then the Brahmanas were serving, very similar to his order. And you know what kind of people came there and how the food was served? Vruddhascha, Vyadhitascha, Striyascha, Balas Tataiva, Anisham Bunjamananam Natrupti Upalabhyate. The food was so delicious and it was so befitting that even old people can eat it. It was so soft, it was not hard or anything. Vyadhitascha, even diseased people can eat it, because diseased people have, they cannot taste the food, their tongue will be bitter. But even for them, that kind of food was prepared. Vyadhitascha, Balas Tataiva Striyascha, ladies and children, they can't eat spicy foods. So for them, such kind of foods were prepared. Anisham Bunjamananam Natrupti Upalabhyate. They were eating continuously, still they are not satisfied. They are thinking limited is our stomach. But this food is so tasty, we are not able to leave it. What a food it is. So tasty food Dasaratha served to all these people. And then they ate. All the sages were fed. And after eating, they came back to the, hermitages. And then they started to have that scholarly discussions. How is it that way? How is it this way? They used to have these discussions, trying to quote from one Shastra to the other. And then somebody would prove, no, this is like this. No, here it is said it is like that. So you are wrong. Like that, they have a Shastric discussion. And by that they would learn, some new concepts. I would give a small example. Many of our devotees also here, we used to argue whether Jambavan is a gorilla or a bear. It is an ongoing discussion still. Whether Jambavan is a bear or a gorilla. In Valmiki Ramayana, it has never been mentioned whether Jambavan is a bear or gorilla. But today I read at one place it is mentioned he was a bear. That when Brahma comes, he tells, I would explain it to you. Like that, we'll have discussions. It will be related to the God. Here devotees are not fighting. They are trying to learn from each other. Whether Jambavan is a bear or a gorilla, they want to know the details. Otherwise, it would be good if you know the details. So like that, they were discussing, they had these arguments, and then the ritual was about to coming to an end. And then the horse, Aswamedha Yaga, when it ends, when this yajna is finished, the horse casts off its body and then it leaves to higher worlds. All these yajnas, they would perform to liberate a soul from its, if you take birth as a horse, you have to go through the cycle again of all those 800,000, 8,400,000 species, and you have to come back to, cow or tulasi or something, and then you have to take birth as human being again, and then you will get liberation. But instead of going through the cycle, benevolent kings like Dasaratha and sages like, Vasishtha, they would, do this Aswamedha Yaga and liberate a soul from that horse. So the horse left its body and then it travelled towards the heavens. Not only the horse, so many animals were bought at that time. It is mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana. 300 such animals, amphibians, like tortoises, all these animals from seas, forests, and from the villages, they all are brought to that Yagashala, and then they are tied to Upastambas. There will be 21 Upastambas, which are carved with 8 faces. 6 of those Upastambas are made from Bilwa tree, 6 of them are made from Kadira, and 6 of them are made from Parnina. Last time I said it as Plaksha, I corrected. It's not Plaksha, but it's Parnina tree. And then 2 of them are made from Devadaru, and 1 is made from Sleshmataka. If I know only Devadaru tree, the rest of them, Bilwa tree I know, Kadira maybe, yeah. But I don't know what is Parnina, what is Sleshmataka, I don't know. But Devadaru I know. Devadaru is made from, Devadaru tree you can see in Himalayas, it grows straight, and it is used for matchsticks. The matchsticks are made from Devadaru tree. So, 2 from Sleshmataka, Devadaru, and 1 from Sleshmataka. So there are 21 sacrificial posts, and they are of 21 cubits in height, and they are carved with 8 faces, and they were assembled, the 21 sacrificial posts with a stretched arm length. If Dasaratha stands and if he stretches his arms, how far his arms would stretch, they would be placed at that intervals. So like that there were 21 sacrificial posts. The entire hermitage, the Yagashala will be built by the measurements of Dasaratha, because he is the one who is conducting the ritual. He is the Yajamana. So they take his measurements, and with respective to his measurements, they will build the entire Yagashala. So people in those days used to be very tall and huge. So that Yagashala was so huge, and they had these 21 posts, of which so many animals were tied. And then after the yajna, those animals were brought to that Garuda Vedi. Garuda Vedi itself, to build a Garuda Vedi, it takes 12 days again, Agni Chayana. It in itself is a big ritual. So all these things are lost in time now. Very few people know about it. And anyway, Kali Yuga is not meant for Vedic rituals. Only you have to do bhakti. So they would make these animals to circumambulate again around this Garuda Vedi, which is the main sacrificial altar, and then they would leave them from the right side of the Garuda Vedi, so that they would go back into the forest and oceans, and then they would spread this auspicious aura of this Vedic ritual to all other living entities, so that they would advance to a better species, and then they would travel towards liberation in their future life. This is the purpose of any Vedic ritual, any homa. So like this, the Aswamedha Yaga was performed, and then Kausalya symbolically, touched the horse with 3 needles with gold, silver, and another metal needles, and then the queen has to spend the night in that Yagashala. And then the next day morning, the other ladies would come and fetch her back to the Antapura. And then she went back, and the Aswamedha Yaga was coming to an end. But the Putrakameshti Yaga is about to begin. And Rishishringa tells to Dasaratha that it is mentioned in Sukla Yajurveda, on Atharva Veda, sorry. Putrakameshti Yaga is in Atharva Veda. I would do the ritual accordingly, what is mentioned in Atharva Veda, and then I would perform it today for your sake, and we will beget sons. So they started Putrakameshti Yaga, and all the demigods, they all arrived. Just after the Aswamedha Yaga, they arrived, all the demigods. Actually, one thing I forgot. I want to tell this in detail. Whatever Valmiki has written, I want to tell you everything, whatever I can remember. Before the building of Uttarvedi, they do 2 more rituals called Pravargya and Upasada. Pravargya is nothing but they bake all these Vedic vessels, all these earthen vessels in a special furnace. So Pravargya is nothing but they bring all these vessels from that furnace, special furnace, and then they would pour hot milk in it. They would clean it, and then they would pour hot milk again in it, and then they would give it to Ashwini twin gods, Ashwini Devatas first. And then later they would crush the Soma creeper, Somalata, and then they would offer it to Indra, just to please them. And they have built this Garuda Vedi in the form of an eagle, and all these earthen pots will be buried underneath this Uttara Vedi. You see what I mean? So this is Pravargya. So these were conducted before they built Uttara Vedi, and like that it commenced, and then the Vedic ritual finished. And then Dasaratha was ordered to come to the Putrakameshti Yaga, and Rishyasringa Maharshi was performing Putrakameshti Yaga. And all the demigods assembled at that spot. Last time when I mentioned, I did not know whether they have assembled here in Ayodhya or in Vishnu Loka. But now I got it confirmed. They assembled in Ayodhya itself, near the Yajnashala. So they all assembled there, and then Brahma also came there. They asked Brahma, this Ravana is troubling us a lot. Even the sun doesn't rise at the proper time, and even the wind god, cannot, blow upon his discretion because of this Ravana. Please help us from this miscreant Ravana. Then Brahma told him that, my dear children, that Ravana had asked me several boons, that he should not be killed by Yakshas, Kimpurshas, Devatas, and Vidyadharas, and so many other celestial beings. But he was so egoistic that he did not ask immunity from human beings and Vanaras. So that itself is his weak point, and therefore he will be dead by a human being. And then Vishnu came there on eagle. Etasmin antare Vishnuhu upayate mahadyutihi Shankachakra Gadapanihi. He says Vishnu came there at that time. Exactly, meanwhile Vishnu came there. Mahadyutihi, that resplendent god Vishnu came there. Shankachakra Gadapanihi and Pitavasa Jagatpatihi. Says Shanka, Chakra, Gada and Pani means 4 hands. He came there with Shanka, Chakra, Gada and 4 hands. Why? That Chakra, Sudarshana, is ever revolving. Just like to depict his ever glory, that Chakra is always revolving and it is shining like sun. And Panchajanya, the conch shell, when he sounds the conch shell, it sounds like Omkara. It liberates the human beings. And when he sounds it, when he is in battle, when he blows the conch shell, Panchajanya, then it will be like a death sound to the enemies. That is the greatness of Panchajanya. And in Ramayana, Panchajanya is none but Shatrugna. Shatrugna is the epitome of what devotees have to be. Shatrugna followed Bharata blindly. See, at the time of Ramachandra, they say that Yasya Ramona Pashyati, Yasya Ramanchana Pashyati, Nindanti, they say that if you don't see Rama and if Rama doesn't see you, your heart itself says that what kind of a life are you leading? That Rama has not seen you. And if you have not seen Rama, then also your mind will blame you that you have not seen Rama and Rama has not seen you. In those times also, Shatrugna did not care. He only followed Bharata. And they say that he was taken away just like one takes a belonging by Bharata. Not even, he did not have his own life. He is not treated as an individual. He does not have that individualism. He was a belonging to Bharata. And Bharata claims that he is a belonging of Rama. He is just a thing to Rama. Like that, he followed. He is the servant of the servant of the servant. That is why Shatrugna is the example for all the devotees who wants to glorify Ramachandra and get his blessings. So that Shatrugna is the conch shell. And he has that Shanka, Chakra and Gada in one hand, Kaumodaki. He would crush all the enemies with this Gada. And another hand is left out. Usually he holds a Padma, lotus, at the time of creation. But now he doesn't have to create because he is coming as Rama and he will kill Ravana. So he is not holding a Padma but an Abhayahasta. He is giving the blessing to all the demigods who have appeared there. Vainateya Samaruhya, that he came on Garuda. Just like sun comes on a black cloud, it is a time of rains at the time, because Hasvamedha Yaga is performed now. After every Vedic ritual it will rain. So so Vishnu came on a black cloud now. He came on Garuda as if sun came on a black cloud, and he blessed all these divine entities, and he said, I chose Dasharatha as my father. I will be born to him. I myself would be born to him as 4 sons. He says, I myself would be born to him as 4 sons. Rama, Bharata, Lakshmana and Shatrughna. How come he can be divided into 4 parts? It is, and would he be not reduced? No. We have it in Upanishads that Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Out of the whole, if you take a part, the part resembles the whole itself. And in spite of this part being taken out of that whole, the whole yet remains the whole. So, when Vishnu expands himself as Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna, he doesn't get reduced, he's still the same. But Rama is a complete avatara. So he says, I come as a human being, Rama, and then I will kill Ravana. I chose Dasharatha as my father. This is how Vishnu blessed him, and they all went back to, their respective lokas. And at the end of Putra Kameshti, today, this time up to 9 o'clock, or do you want to leave? You want to complete it now, or you want to go ahead? Yeah, okay. So, we would not let Rama take birth today itself. We would wait for next week, so that we will have some Abhisheka or something, and then we'll. So, Putra Kameshti ritual was coming to an end, and then a Prajapatya Purusha, a Yajna Purusha came out of Putra Kameshti Yaga. He was so huge, he was so big like a mountain. He was wearing black and red clothing. And he was holding a golden pot in his hand with a silver lid. And his voice was like a drum beat. And he started walking towards Dasharatha with that golden vessel, just as if one walks with a newly wed wife, so carefully. The same simile is given in Valmiki Ramayana. So he walked to Dasharatha, and Dasharatha bowed before him and asked, my dear sir, you have come here. I don't know for which reason you have come, but I would like to do whatever you desire to. What can I do for you? Then the Prajapatya Purusha, he is called Yajna Purusha in the beginning, but then he says, I am the son of Prajapati. I came here to deliver you this payasa, this divine ambrosia which was prepared in the heavens. Upon taking this, your wives will beget children. There is a beautiful anecdote here. Tenali Ramakrishna completed a poem. Krishna Devaraya got a doubt while he was coming to his court. He got a question. He said, Balaramudu Sita Juchi Pakkunan again. That means Balarama saw Sita and he laughed. How can Balarama of Dwapar Yuga see Sita and laugh? So he came to the court and posed this puzzle to his poets and to his courtiers. Then Tenali Rama got up and he completed the sloka saying that Lalanalu payasamanina kshmasu kalugudure pillalanchu kshmasuta navvan polamana dorikedarani dhi balaramudu Sita juchi pakkunanagayan. He said, by consuming payasa, if children are born, it is so funny. So saying that Sita laughed at Rama. Then Rama, dhi balarama, one who is strong in intellectual and intelligence, he retorted back to Sita saying that, no, children are not born by consuming payasa or a divine sweet, but when you are ploughing a field, they are born out of the ground like you. So like that they had a discussion. So the poet completed it in that way. So that's why, Ramayana is the fountain resource of unfailing plenty to a culture that is full of, divine arts like poetry, painting, singing, dancing, and music, and literature. For all these things, Ramayana is a fountain resource. It is the first of its kind. It's the first poem ever written by man. So, the Prajapatya Purusha came forward and gave the divine payasa to Dasharatha. And then Dasharatha thanked him, and he received it just like a person a pauper receives a great wealth, like that Dasaratha received it. Just like a person who experienced a complete drought for a long time and then saw the first showers of rain, how happy he will be. Dasaratha also was so happy because he was about to get sons. Not just sons, divine sons. Vishnu is going to come as a son. So he took half of that payasa and gave it to Kausalya, who was a Mahishi. And then he took half of the remaining other half, he took that and gave it to Sumitra. And then out of the remaining portion, he took half of it and gave it to Kaikeyi. And then some portion was remaining, 1/8 of it. And then he taught it for a while and then gave it back to Sumitra again. This was a calculation that Dasaratha did. So he gave half to Kausalya and half remained, and half of that half is 1/4, he gave it to Sumitra, and half of 1/4, which is 1/8, he gave it to Kaikeyi, and then that 1/8 he gave it back to Sumitra. So, and then they were all happy, and then they went back. It was actually a huge vessel. They said it is a huge vessel because Prajapatya Purusha was as huge as a mountain, and in his hands that vessel has to be so big. So they had lot of the divine payasa. So, and then they all went back to his palace, back again. Everybody, all the kings, they all went back, and slowly one after the other they started to leave Ayodhya. And I don't want Rishyasringa to leave today. So with that, we will also leave today and then come back again. And next week, how Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata and Shatrughna are born, or we will see that. Or if you want, we can continue today. We'll do it next week. Yeah. Mangalam Kosalendraya Mahaniya Gunatmane Chakravarti Tanujaya Sarvabhaumaya Mangalam. Any questions? And they say you have to listen to Ramayana. Estvidam Raghunadasya Charitam Sakalam Patet Sosukshaye Vishnum Yanti Gacchatyeva Na Samsayah. If you read Ramayana, if you listen to Ramayana every day, you will go to Vaikunta. There is no doubt about it. Shunvan Ramayanam Bhaktya Padam Padameva Sayatu Brahmanasthanam Brahmana Pujyate Sada. If you can't read the entire Ramayana, at least listen to one sloka of Ramayana, at least a word of it. Take the Ramayana book, keep it in your house, offer a flower to it, water to it, and then just see the book at least once, and then read the story of Ramachandra. It is so beautiful, so melodious, and if at all God appears in front of you, you should know how to do a stotra. You cannot say, oh, you are mighty, you are that. He has his own language. Sanskrita is a Deva Bhasha. So if you read Ramayana, you will be trained how to address the Lord when you see him, right? You don't want to address him in a substandard way. So in the beginning of this epic, Narada says, Ikshvaku Vamsa Prabho Ramo Nama Janaisrutaha Niyatatma Mahaviryo Dutiman Vashi Buddhiman Nitiman Vangmi Shriman Shatru Nibarhanaha Vipulamsho Mahabahu Kambugriva Mahahanuhu Mahavrasko Mahishwaso Godajatru Arindamaha Ajanubahu Sushiraha Sulalata Suvikramaha Samaha Sama Vibhaktanga Snigdhavarna Pratapavan Pinavatsa Vishalaksho Lakshmivan Shubhalakshanaha Dharmagnaha Satyasangascha Prajanam cha Hiterataha Yashasvi Jnana Sampannaha Suchivesha Samadhiman Prajapati Sama Shriman Dhatari Punisudanaha Rakshita Jivalokasya Dharmasya Parirakshita Rakshita Swasya Dharmasya Swajanasya cha Rakshita Veda Vedanga Tatvagno Dhanurvedanta Nishtitaha. Like that, Valmiki has given so many slokas for us. We can learn all these slokas and we can recite. When the Lord appears, let us not, when He appears, of course, He blesses us to come out with, several poems. If we are really that fortunate, we can sing it. But if we continuously sing these verses, because they have been addressed by His dearmost devotee Valmiki and His devotees, the characters of Ramayana such as Bharata, Jatayu and Sugriva and Hanuman, you all, when you recite the same slokas, Rama would know, oh, this has been uttered by my devotee in Treta Yuga. This person is addressing in the same way. He might be a friend to my devotee. Let me take care of him. Like that he might look at us. So the reading of Ramayana is very important. And it is so beautiful. It will give peace. It will reduce your high BP, cholesterol or whatever you have. So please listen to Ramayana. Actually, research has proved that attending Harikatha, it relieves you by stress and strain, This is an age of headache and heart attack, right? So at this time you have to come to Ramayana, listen Harikatha, get relieved of your stress, get benefited. And what is the probability that you will have a temple nearby your home like this? Very less, right? And what is the probability that in that temple, somebody is doing Valmiki Ramayana? Please come and listen and take advantage. You are coming already. I am telling it for your friends who have not come. Let this Ramayana bless everybody with health, prosperity and spiritual advancement. Hare Krishna.